What's up, Dax?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
What's up, Dax? I'm good, man. We have Tammy.
Tammy? What the fuck is wrong with you? You
Okay,
got Tomi
let's start.
Lahren on the podcast
Let's
today.
start again. Let's start
Tammy.
again. Hold on.
No,
Tammy,
we're not
Tammy.
starting again. We're keeping this
No,
shit.
Pat, we are not.
No,
this.
we are keeping this. I don't even fucked it up. We are keeping this. So
She's gonna
welcome.
listen to this, Dax. She's gonna be pissed.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast,
She's
guys.
gonna be pissed at me. I'm trying to hang out with
No, she's not gonna be pissed at you. I'd call her Tammy, but we're going with it.
Pat, we're canceling it. Oh, no.
No, we're not canceling it. Tammy.
See, you just did it, asshole. All right.
Tomi Lahren is on the podcast today, and we're moving forward. We're not erasing it. This is great shit. I like hearing you fuck
She's cool,
up.
man. I've interviewed her a bunch. I mean, listen, I will say this first. I do not have the same political views as her. But I respect her honesty. And she's a nice person.
So my thing is, I think we will get hate for having her on, but I kind of don't care. I think that she is interesting in her own regard. I am the same as you. I don't politically agree with everything that she does and says. At the end of the day, though, we are not a political podcast. We're here to see the human side of people and what makes them fascinating or interesting. So, I want to ask her how it feels to get hated on every day on social media. I want to hear what it feels like to have people call you racist and have your tweet blow up and get into feuds with some of the biggest rappers in the game. Like that, to me, I want to hear about. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if we...
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I want to hear what happened with her on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. I want to hear what happened with her and Charlamagne the God, and where that relationship is now. She is a political commentator on
She's
Fox.
A polarizing political commentator. Listen, I think I've said this before, but like in Hollywood, the most, like, I would say famous or talked about people, they're polarizing. Either you love them or you hate them, but the middle are boring. You know what I'm saying? So like getting these people that are on, and I don't say political one side or the other. I'm just talking about like love and hate. And I think that's why Paris Hilton has become so famous. Kim Kardashian, so famous because people love them or hate them. That's it. There's no middle point. And I think Tomi has also kind of hit that point in her career. What it's like. I want to know what it's like for someone like her.
Yeah, I've interviewed Tomi a few times outside Fox News in New York. And here's Dax, this is a funny story. I'm banned from the Fox News property.
Was that because you were out there with no pants?
That could be it, but no, this is what happened. Funny story. So at the time, Stacey Dash was doing a show at like noon. It was like I don't know, I don't watch Fox News, but the show was like 5 women talking about politics, and she was like guest hosting for a little bit. And I waited for her to film the show. And when she got done, I ran up with my camera and started interviewing her. And she was super sweet, super nice, super cool. And I just asked her a few questions about what's going, some topics are going on in the day. But then all of a sudden, another girl from the show who I don't know her name ran in, started to like wanted to get in on the interview. And I was sort of like, I don't really care about your opinion. I care about Stacey Dash. Like she's more of the star. And I guess the girl kind of sensed my energy and I didn't care about her because I just wanted to focus on Stacey. She went up to the security of Fox News and like the heads and said, this guy should not be allowed on the property. This is not right. This is not fair. This.
Oh, so you didn't do anything wrong. You just weren't interested in her.
I wasn't interested in her. I was standing on Fox News property, doing the interview essentially, but I've done it plenty of times, like numerous of times, and they usually don't care. But I'm very close and cool with the security there. But she complained to the security and some of the heads there, and then they said, "Do not allow this guy on the property again." And the security who I was friends with said, "Listen, it's not us. We can't have you on the property. We'll get in trouble because this girl complained about you," which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Interesting. I think my last interaction with Fox News is when I did the show the other, what was that? How many months ago? That was like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, something like that.
Which was pretty insane night for you.
For Tucker. So I did Tucker's show. I couldn't believe how many texts I got that night. So I was on there for 3 minutes, maybe, doing just a stand-up. And again, it was nothing political about the stand-up. It was just covering a sports story. My God, the amount of I was like, I had no idea the reach this show had. I mean, I've done every show on, all these different news shows. That one, it was like my phone blew up.
Yeah,
And from people that I'm like, didn't think that person watched Fox News.
Yeah. You're like a talking head on tons of news shows around the country still. Is that the biggest platform you ever did where you got the biggest response?
In regards to talking head, yes. I mean, I think the biggest is probably from Shark Tank.
Oh, well, yeah.
That one blew up, but I would say talking head news, yes. When I did Tucker. That's crazy. Really crazy stuff. All right, let's read a comment so we can get Tammy, as you call it.
You fucked it up. Told you.
All right, let's get our comment before Tomi Lahren comes on. By the way, I need to say her name right. I fuck it up every time. Tomi Lahren. Okay. And I will probably mess it up during this interview because in my head it's Lauren. But okay. So we love reading your guys' comments on the air. We appreciate you guys giving us reviews on iTunes. It's huge. Give us 4 stars and leave us a comment. We will read it. This one we never read it before, and so I went back in time to grab it. Just thought it was a really nice comment, and it never made air because we weren't reading them at that time. So this one comes in from Jerry. It says, great show, really interesting, fun, and great view into the world of it. Love the chemistry between the two hosts and the guests that have something to say. Reveals the fourth wall of Hollywood that no one talks about. Subscribed and give us a 5 stars from Jerry. So I just thought it was a nice comment. We never got a chance to read it, so I'm doing it today.
Very cool. That's the best thing you do to support this podcast is leave a review. Make sure it's good. Give us 5 stars. It's the best thing you can do, and we really appreciate it. And we'll talk about it on air. Dax, tell us about our guest today.
All right, our guest today is a political conservative commentator. She is one of the hosts of Fox Nation. Some people love her. Some people hate her. But I think we can all she's good to look at. So here is Tomi Lahren.
Tomi is in Nashville, which is your home now. And, obviously this is a podcast, but there is a YouTube element. Beautiful home right now behind you. Did you decorate that yourself or that is nice.
It is beautiful. I'm telling you. It looks like it's straight out of a magazine.
I appreciate you saying that. Sometimes you have to use the kitchen with all the COVID stuff, and I have a home studio upstairs, but this might even look better. So the sun is shining right now. We're supposed to get a tornado later. So for right now, the natural lighting is doing wonders.
Love only in Nashville. You're like, we are expecting a tornado, but it is gorgeous outside right now.
Right now it's looking beautiful, but I think later on it's going to be a different story. So, send up some prayers for me if we're still allowed to do thoughts and prayers. I don't know.
You actually moved around a lot in the past few years. You're in LA, now you're in Nashville. What is the difference? How do you like Nashville compared to LA? Where would you ideally like to live? Are you happy where you are?
Yeah, well, I don't even say that I left LA. I said I fled LA almost a year ago to date. And it was bad before COVID hit, but I can't imagine living in Los Angeles right now or the state of California in general. So yeah, Tennessee is a much better state. I'm still in Nashville, still a lot of liberals in Nashville, but they're nicer liberals. They're not, they're liberals that'll just kind of sneer at you, but not liberals that will kick you or throw things at you. So I would say it's an upgrade.
Yeah, California has definitely been a crazy place. I am so excited for like Disneyland to open up. Do you know how long my kids love Disney, and it's like 20 minutes from my house. So it's like finally life is getting back to normal here in California.
Well, the new normal, as they would say. I say exactly. As long as you have to wear a face diaper strapped to your ears, I don't know if that's necessarily normal, but I know that California and New York operate on different normal standards than the rest of the country. So you're as close as you're going to get, probably.
Very true.
Tomi, I feel like a lot of people saw you. You kind of came across their Facebook feeds and YouTube. Somehow the algorithm, you kind of popped in there. What was the work that really put you on the map, that people really got to see you?
Sure. Well, I've been on national TV since I was 21. That was my first show at One America News. And no one really knew what One America News was. And of course, with the Trump administration, they kind of gained in some popularity. But that was my first show. I was 21. But I always did a segment at the end of my show called Final Thoughts. And that is the rants, as some would say. And those have always been able to somewhat go viral throughout my career, whether I was at One America or when I went to The Blaze or even at Fox. Now I have a segment that's just Final Thoughts for Fox Nation. But I think most people would find me on social media. And a lot of people think that I started my career on social media, but I actually was in national television. It just tends to go viral when you speak your mind and you don't pull any punches. And that's always what I've done.
But so has that been kind of your strategy essentially, is to kind of say your mind, you know, be outspoken, you know, have that conservative look, and people onto it?
Yeah, I think so. I think for too long, conservatives have tried to be so academic and so prudish and fit inside of a little box, especially in like a television studio where they felt like they need to be very scripted, very uptight. And I've never done any of that. I say what I mean what I say, and I don't apologize when I'm right. I think for too long, conservatives backed down, they cowered. They didn't have the passion and the energy of those on the left. And so I really wanted to bring that in, not because it was a strategy or some kind of a performance, because it's how I actually feel, but I just feel bold enough to say it. And when I say, a lot of people say they don't care what people think about them. I promise you, I really do not care what people think about me. I'm going to speak the truth. I don't pay attention to who I offend. I pay attention to who I inspire. And I encourage other conservatives to do the same thing, because as we all know, liberals have no problem doing that. So I don't understand why conservatives have such an issue with that. And I'm always called controversial, a firebrand, a flamethrower. But I'm just doing what the left does. I'm just playing the game too. And unfortunately, the left doesn't always like that, but I'm not going to stop.
You are a journalist. You are a voice in the media. Are you nervous? You know, obviously you said you speak how it is. You state your opinions. Are you nervous about cancel culture and how it can affect your career or even future?
Sure. Well, you know, and I always remind folks, I'm not a journalist. I'm a political commentator. I went to school for journalism, but everybody knows what I do is opinion based. So I never want to confuse anybody. I clearly have a bias. I clearly lean one way.
But I'll say this though, Tomi, a lot of people, yes, you are a political commentator, but people who watch TV, they consider the stuff you do as news. You know, they don't watch, they see what you do as news, not as political commentary. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
it
that's
does.
how
And
that's
I
okay.
incorporate the news. Of course, I incorporate the headlines and the facts, but I also do it from my perspective. And I think that more actual journalists like Anderson Cooper and others would do well to just admit their bias, and then they can do their commentary if they want to while they deliver the news. But I think that there has to be a clear distinction between the two. I am happy and proud to make that distinction. Others, like George Stephanopoulos, Anderson Cooper, Cuomo, others pretend like they're neutral, and that's very frustrating to people like me. But as far as the cancel culture goes, you know, I'm kind of the one that branded the cancel culture. And the way that you keep yourself from being canceled is that you amass a following that does not back down. So the problem and the reason that cancel culture has gotten so bad is conservatives are largely to blame. We apologize too much. We hide in the corner too much. And so the corporations, big tech, and everyone else in this country happens to think that we are the minority. We're not. We are the silent majority. We just need to get a little bit louder. And that's how we keep ourselves from being canceled on every level, whether it's personally, professionally, on TV, on social media, from companies, from TV shows. You become uncancelable when you refuse to back down. So many, and we've seen, you know, the apologies coming from Chris Harrison, coming from really anybody that's been canceled in the last year. They bend over backwards to apologize for things that maybe they didn't even do wrong, maybe just that offended somebody ridiculously. I say apologize when you're wrong, but when you're not wrong, don't apologize for holding a viewpoint. There's nothing wrong with that. Stand your ground, have a backbone.
How do you deal with, because the thing with social media, obviously people are able to speak their, able to throw out their suggestions or what they believe. How do you deal with haters online? Do you just dismiss them? Do you fire back? How do you deal with the haters?
Every once in a while, I like to have a little fun with those that are so triggered by me and say awful, disgusting things. So I'll have a little fun. I'll go back and forth, usually with a, you know, kind of a bless your heart. Or when they tell me I'm disgusting and vile and ugly, I'll tell them, you know, I appreciate their opinion, and it just makes them feel nice and that they seem like a lovely person to have around. So every once in a while, I'll go back and forth. But quite honestly, I don't engage with the trolls. And my motto is always this too: I'm not going to punch downward. If someone comes after me like a Nicki Minaj or a Cardi B, okay, that's punching upward. I'll take on that fight. Let's go. But someone that's beneath me that has, you know, an avatar as their profile pic, probably not worth my time and energy unless I'm just looking for some giggles one day.
That's actually a really interesting look at. I've never thought about that, the punching upwards, because, you know, these feuds online, they're a big way to gain gain social media followings. Who's the person that came punching you were like, oh, that's a huge punch up?
Well, I think Cardi B, obviously. And, I do have to claim this for people that might hate me. I was the one unifying factor between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. They both don't seem to like me very much. So they united in that for a couple of days. So I'm going to go ahead and take credit for that. I wouldn't say it's world peace, but it's pretty close in the pop culture world. But yeah, Cardi B went after me, Nicki Minaj went after me, The Game went after me, Jay-Z went after me. I mean, pretty much name a rapper and they've gone after me. But the funny thing is that they've continued to go after me on several instances, on Cardi B in particular, and times when I didn't even go after her and she'll comment back at me. Funny thing too, a couple weeks ago, I found a Cardi B shirt and I was like, this is great. I'm going to wear this. It's funny. It's lighthearted, making fun of myself. So I wore a Cardi B shirt. I put it on my Instagram and I tagged her. And then I looked in my mentions or my DMs and I see that she saw it. So Cardi, I know you're watching. Someday we're going to reconcile. I just know it. I have a feeling.
Okay, here's a bigger question for you. That aside, do you like Cardi's music? Because she's got some bangers.
Oh, she absolutely does. And the thing that frustrates me about a lot of conservatives is that they lose their mind over songs like WAP. Why? I think that's what Cardi should be doing, is singing about WAP. I think that is a great avenue for her to artistically express herself. I'd much rather she do that and talk about WAP than talk about politics and taxes and immigration. I think she should stay there. And I like her music. I love Jay-Z. I love 21 Savage. All these people that I've had feuds with, I still like their music. I just think that they should stay in that realm and maybe out of politics.
Has any of these rappers that you kind of gotten to, you clash heads a little bit, and has any of these rappers actually reached out and been like, hey, I really enjoy what you're doing, or I'm a fan?
No, that has yet to happen. I thought maybe at one point Wale and I were getting close. No, not really, but he comes after me a lot, unsolicited, comes after me. But no, not really. I think that the closest thing I've ever had to that was probably Charlemagne the God and I had a time where we were cordial, where we were friendly. He was actually the one that told me, and was the first one to tell me that I was in the Pusha T and Jay-Z song, Drug Dealers Anonymous. He's the one that emailed me and said, like, hey, just so you know, you're in this song. And we've talked on several occasions, and then he got a lot of flack for talking to me. So since then, we haven't had a chance to chat in a couple of years. But, he and I were close. We talked and it was fine. But the left hated that. So it ended.
I was wondering, listening to all this, do you feel like it's almost, how do I say it? Do you almost feel like it's a cool thing to not like you and that's why people will gang up? Because I feel like that's what happens when someone hits a certain level of their career, like a Paris Hilton. It's like it's almost becomes cool not like the person, or like a Kim Kardashian, love to hate the person. Do you feel that you've kind of hit that point in your career?
Yeah, well, a lot of people like to poke fun at me, and I'm a caricature for them and a punching bag. And there are a lot of conservatives, at least young conservatives, that are in that same boat. But for me, I think it's less about being popular to hate me, and more so if you actually like me or you think I'm just a decent human aside from my politics, that's not allowed. And that's been the case for so many. It's been the case with Trevor Noah, Chelsea Handler, Charlemagne, really anybody that I've had a chance to speak with one-on-one or spend any time with whatsoever that I at least feel like liked me as a human, they're not allowed to do that. So they have to go back to hating me, and they have to go back into their box and pick their side because they couldn't possibly like somebody like me.
So do you think right now you would be the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne's show, his radio show, one of the biggest morning shows in the world? Do you think they would have you on as a guest, or are you just too controversial for them right now?
Back in the day, I think he would have. I think that maybe his co-hosts weren't so excited about that. But back in the day, sure. I mean, I've been his donkey of the day a couple of times. I haven't officially been on, but I'm open to anything. I love mixing it up with the other side. I love having our debates, having our battles. I don't mind being beat up a little bit. That's one thing that I will always say. I'll enter into any lion's den, and I've done it so many times. I'm really unafraid to do so. Like, I will go on the Daily Show. I don't care if you guys are going to laugh at me. I don't care if Trevor Noah is going to introduce me as a racist uncle. Whatever. I'll take my hits. It's okay. I'll go on The View. I'll debate with Chelsea Handler. I'll go on with Bill Maher. I mean, I'm willing to do any of those things and have any of those conversations. So, hey, Charlemagne wants to invite me on, let's do it. Let's have some fun. I'd love to talk about this wonderful president of his.
I remember when you actually did the Daily Show, the first time you did the Daily Show, and I remember running into you in the lobby talking after you did the Daily Show. I remember running to you in the lobby of the Bowery Hotel, and you actually were speaking with Trevor Noah after. You guys, had a drink and got to talk. Do you guys still talk? Do you still have a relationship with Trevor? Have you guys spoken at all?
I wrote about that in my book, which is funny because now he bends over backwards to say that it was a meeting with his producer and that it wasn't him that actually wanted to hang out with me in any capacity, that it was completely professional and his producer was there and my producer was there. Well, my producer wasn't there. My producer, Jessica, she's a mutual friend of ours. She wasn't there. It was just me. I showed up, party of one.
I will actually say I will go with you on that. I remember I visibly saw you guys in the lobby of the Bowery Hotel, and it was just the two of you, I believe, maybe three of you, maybe one of his friends or colleagues. But yes, I will say it was just you. So I have your back on that. It was.
Yeah, and then afterwards, he texted me a few times after I debated Chelsea Handler at Politicon. He texted me and said he enjoyed it and he thought it was fun. So we had like a banter back and forth. I mean, I wouldn't say we were homies by any means, but he would text me back and forth. I think we had a mutual respect for one another, at least on a professional level, and we respect that, we both take hits. And it was fine. It was a cordial relationship. But, then everything kind of ushered in with the huge cancel culture surge, and people just don't even want to have those conversations or be associated whatsoever with somebody on the other side because they're afraid that their side is going to come after them and be out for blood. So yeah, those conversations haven't happened in a long time.
It's funny listening to this. I feel like our world is kind of like a high school. Like you're not allowed to be friends with someone else that other people don't like. And I think that's really interesting. Even this last 4 years, it's been very polarizing. Like you talk politics and you could lose friends, and it's a weird place to be in. You've met Trump. What is, putting politics aside, what type of guy is he? I mean, we've had lots of people on the podcast that have done, Apprentice and done all these other things. What was your view, not as president, just as Trump?
He's the man. I mean, what you see is what you get. But I actually had the opportunity a couple weeks ago where I was at CPAC and we have a mutual connection, and he FaceTimed me right before I went on America Reports. And I got to say, is the highlight of my year. It's the first time anybody had really seen him in a long time.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say FaceTimed you before going on?
Yeah, he did. We have a mutual friend. So it's on my Instagram. I screenshotted that sucker. I'm not letting that one go. But yeah, he was just at Mar-a-Lago. He's got his mega hat on. He's living the life. I mean, what you see really is what you get. He's the type of person that you'd want to hang out with. He is genuine. And the thing that I love about Donald Trump, and so many people like myself love about Donald Trump, is that you would think that he would be the most unapproachable person. I mean, he's a billionaire, president of the United States, but he is one of us. Even though his lifestyle might not be my lifestyle, it might not be the lifestyle of people like where I'm from in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, but he can relate to people because he is authentically him. He doesn't talk down to people. He doesn't pretend to be like them. He's not like Joe Biden where he talks about being from Pennsylvania all the time. He's just him. He's like, listen, I'm a billionaire. I like to eat McDonald's a couple times a day. I am what I am. Here it is. I have a lot of respect for that, besides the fact that I love his policies and what he did for the country.
What about your relationship with his kids? I'm sure you have some sort of relationship with them. What's that like?
Ivanka's always been very, very sweet to me, very nice to me. So we've gone back and forth. Tiffany and I have gone back and forth on Instagram. She's great. Back when that whole thing happened with when she had her birthday and people were coming down on her for going out and celebrating her birthday in Florida, which was open at the time. And, she was trending on Twitter and people were really coming for her. I talked to her about that because I think she knows that I've taken my fair share of hits on that. So we converse back and forth. Don Jr. and I have always been cool. Lara Trump, Eric Trump. They're just a great family. Everybody in that family is so kind, so normal, so humble and down to earth. They're the kind of people that you'd like to be around. I don't think we could say the same about like a Chelsea Clinton, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't met her.
Listen, I don't even know. I'm not sure. You being a Fox Nation, do you get hit up by politicians so that they could like have you on their side? I always wonder that because when I worked at TMZ for years, it's like it's only who will dip into your DMs, to be like, hey, I'm here, because that they're just trying to get something out of it. Do you happen to doing that to you?
I wouldn't say so much. I mean, my DMs are a very interesting place, but I wouldn't say it's politicians. No, it's a risk because I think back when people were riding the coattails of Donald Trump, they wanted, notable Trump supporters on their side, but now everyone's a little squirmish and they don't know who they want to associate with. But there are ones that are very forthright and out there, like the Matt Gaetz of the world and people like that who, they do want to be associated with people like me. But a lot of the other ones, they have to play it safe and they got to play the game. So it's interesting the way that works.
How much does Fox News have, I guess, in their opinions of what you say and what you're allowed to say? Like you're conservative, but you're not like all the way to the ones. You have some.
Hold on. Do you want him to question and just say Fox, not Fox News?
Oh well, Fox Nation. Sorry, I'll do that again. Sorry.
Yeah. Either way, you can say Fox News because I'm on Fox News as well. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so. You work on Fox News and you're on Fox Nation, but how much does Fox have, opinions or, how much voice do they have in your opinions? Do they say, hey, do they have any say in what you're allowed, or are you totally in control of what you want to say? Are you allowed to be a little more liberal there, or do they want to screw it more conservative?
Well, first of all, there's not really a liberal bone in my body. Yes, I am pro-choice, and I am okay with same-sex marriage and those things. So I'm more socially moderate on some issues. But no, the things that I get in trouble for when I'm more conservative or whatever, and I wouldn't even say get in trouble. I obviously tweeted some things that have gotten me into some hot water in the past, just the way that I phrase things or the way that I make a joke and it doesn't land well and some people get triggered and offended. But no, I mean, my opinions are completely my own. I write all my stuff myself, and when I'm on live TV, obviously I say my piece and people know that what you see is what you get, and I'm going to say what I mean and say what I feel. Sometimes, I get a little slap on the wrist for it, but I'm always me. Now, of course, things are fact checked. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is they want to make sure that everything I'm saying or scripting is accurate. But other than that, no, I'm 100% me, and I get that long leash to be 100% me. And that's a good thing because I really couldn't be the other way. I really don't know how to be what somebody wants me to be. I never have been, never will be. I've lost my job over it in the past. This is what you get.
You ever had a celeb you and say they were a big and it surprised you? Because I feel like I've had those run-ins. I know Adam's had those run-ins where you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know you watched the show or was a fan of my work. Have you ever had that?
Several. And I won't name names because they would be canceled, but several. And it's astonishing to me, actually.
I find that very sad that you can't even say the name because you're afraid that they will get in trouble for being a fan of you. That's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I won't name names, but I'll just tell you that there are several people that are on Bravo who are conservative, who you wouldn't expect would be conservative, that are fans of mine and have told me that they are fans of mine, but I would never out them because I'd never want to do anything to their careers or have, any flack come their way, on my accord. But yeah, several at Bravo, and I'm a Bravo fan. So I watch a lot of Bravo. So I know about every person on Bravo, and there were a few where I was really surprised, but yeah, they are.
When you were talking about Charlemagne the God and him, you're racist and all that, does that hurt your feelings? Like, to me, that's a really powerful word. So I don't like. How do you feel if someone's you on their show and they're like they call you a racist? Does that hurt your feelings?
I wouldn't say it hurts my feelings because I'm in this business and I have to have a rhino skin. It's frustrating, but I learned a long time ago that once you start explaining to people what you are and what you're not, your message really gets lost. I'm not going to waste my time, waste my airtime, waste any time for that matter, explaining to someone how I'm not a racist. I know I'm not a racist. If that's how you want to see me and that's how you want to label me because it makes you feel better that you can put me in a box and cast me aside, whatever, go for it. But at the end of the day, I think it's just cheap, and I think it's really just what people want to do because it makes it easier to treat you poorly. If they've labeled you a horrible monster, then they don't care how they treat you. So it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's frustrating, but I'm so used to it at this point that I just have to get over it.
What has been the crazy experience you've ever had with a person who's not a fan?
Well, I think that TMZ covered the saga of the water being thrown at me in Minneapolis. I mean, that was like an ongoing thing that I never wanted to come out because I don't like to, highlight people that do disgusting things. But yeah, that was probably the most notable thing that's happened to me is when I was at brunch with my parents, the rooftop in Minneapolis, and we're walking out. I'm like flanked by my parents, and a white girl, who was probably my age, decided it would be funny to throw water at me and then record it and then have everybody chant expletives at me and my family. That's probably one of the worst.
What did your parents say after that moment?
Well, they know because I've told them before if anything ever happens, because it's happened a few times when I've been with my parents, just don't react because they want the reaction. They would love to see my parents go apeshit and do something like that would give them so much validation. So I always tell them like, don't do anything. I think my mom walked over there and just grabbed the glass because they were going to continue to throw things. But then we just left. And the funny thing is this is how bad Minneapolis is. I will never go back to Minneapolis. I mean, you couldn't pay me to go back to that godforsaken city, especially now that they've defunded their police. But the people at the restaurant, they were asking me and my family to leave because we were causing a scene. And I looked at them and I said, these people just threw water at me and are chanting at me, and I'm with my parents, and you're asking me to leave because I'm causing a problem? Okay, no worries. I don't want to be here anyway, but funny how that works, isn't it?
Interesting.
Yeah. Are you?
Your life is
it's wild.
Very, I must say,
dangerous.
Yeah, it is a bit dangerous.
Are you scared? Are you in fear of your wellness because of that? Not even wellness, but just in general. Do you walk around in fear because there is so many wild people out there that something could happen, especially in the times now?
It depends on where I am. In Nashville, I don't really have a lot of concerns. Sometimes I'll get sneers and glares, or people will come up and say nasty things, but I really can't live in fear. And I've always said that. People say, do you go around with security when you go places? Even when I was in LA, like, do you go places with security, or do you have to make sure that you have people with you at all times? Like, listen, I'm not going to live my life that way. I take my precautions. I make sure that I'm smart and vigilant at all times. I protect my home with the Second Amendment. If anybody's going to come in my house, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. But other than that, I'm really just not going to live my life that way, because that's becoming a prisoner to my career, and I just won't do that. So be vigilant, be cautious. My head is always on a swivel, and I'm probably somewhat paranoid. But at the end of the day, most of these people are cowards. I hope.
So you said your DMs are an interesting place. What's it like being in Tomi Lahren's?
It is a very interesting place in the DMs, and I usually don't check my random DMs. I have like the verified folder, and then I have like the general public folder that's weird, that's asking for foot pictures and stuff. I don't really dive into that, but if a blue check comes through, I'll see who it is, and we'll have a discussion. But I mean, every person that I pretty much know, notably that I'm friends with, I've met through Instagram. I met my current boyfriend on Instagram. I mean, Instagram is my mode of dating. It really is. I've not met anybody in the last several years that I haven't met on Instagram.
It's funny. So
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So you talked about this boyfriend. Last time I saw you, you just got engaged, and then obviously things happen. You're with this new guy. This new guy, what's his deal? He's a baseball player. What's his deal?
Yeah, JP, former baseball player. He works for Fox Sports now. So yeah, and we met
what happened?
on
He just
Instagram.
slid in your DMs and just said, "Hey, what's up? Let's get it." What'd he say?
Yeah, just I'm a fan of what you do. Appreciate what you do for the country. I mean, that's usually the DMs that I get, and I appreciate that, because anytime someone with a blue check puts themselves out there and says like, I'm a fan of what you do, I take note of that, whether it's trying to be flirty or not. It's like, hey, thank you, because I always think that everybody in the spotlight, or anybody that's got a career, is going to steer far, far away from me, whether they like me or not. But when somebody does take notice and say something kind to me, it means a lot to me. And then sometimes you end up dating them. Who knows? It's happened a couple of times.
So what was your first date?
Here in Nashville. Came to Nashville to see me. I'm actually headed to Miami tomorrow. So I'm doing staying far away from South Beach, by the way, because there's no part of me that wants to twerk off. But yeah.
That would be big news if Tomi Lahren did a twerk off. Come on.
Can you tell us what happened with Jay Cutler? Like, obviously that came out of nowhere, and there was what happened with that?
So Nashville's a very small town. Jay and I happened to be at the same bar. We talked a little bit on Instagram. just completely friendly. We met out at a bar. We've hung out a couple of times. It's just been completely friendly. But as soon as someone sees you with somebody, and especially if you're me, you're going to catch flack for it. So yeah, I think that was like a day and a half that I just kept getting Google alert after Google alert after Google alert. And I would text Jay and be like, hey, listen, I just want you to know that I think that this is coming out. Like, I'm not going to say that it's this or it's that, but just like want you to be aware because they're going to come after you for this. And then of course, what happened? Yeah, it exploded and blew up. But then that girl from Southern Charm, then she went out and started, putting the receipts out there. And I'm just thinking, girl, really? Like, would you really do that? I thought that was so cheap and stupid and embarrassing. So I feel really bad for the guy. He's doing the best that he can. I mean, dang it. He's been through the ringer. Just leave the man alone. He's a good guy.
Yeah. How did he respond? Because I got to imagine like that's just unnecessary drama in his life. So was he like, all right, shit, fuck it. Like, let's just see what people say, or just go on the defense? No, that's not the truth.
Yeah, I think at first he just really doesn't care. The thing that I do give Jay a lot of credit for is he really does not care what people think. It's more about his family and his personal life for him that he doesn't want to rock the boat or cause issues with. But he really does not care about public perception. I don't think, as far as what people think about him, or if people are going to say that he was seen with me and I'm conservative, so he must be conservative and all that. He really doesn't care about that. He's a real human being. But of course, it's more about, he cares about his family. He cares about what's going on in his life. So I think it's more from a place of that than other people who are just terrified of being seen with me for the sake of being seen with me. This like boogeyman that people create in their minds.
So what you hanging out with Jay, there was no, at least on your side, was there trying to see a little bit more if there was something there, or was it strictly as friends?
We were just friends. We really were. We hung out a few times. Nashville is such a small town, so it's you're gonna run into people, and I'll give you a little bit more. So last week I'm out. My boyfriend's in town. We're out at Losers. If you guys ever want to come to Nashville, you got to go to Losers because everything goes down at Losers. So Losers is the place. And so then my friend comes up to me and she's like, hey, Tomi, oh shit. And I said, what? She goes, Jay's here. You have got to be kidding me. The one time when my current boyfriend is here, and then of course like all the rumors and whatever, and then Jay's in the back, and I'm thinking, only in Nashville would this happen to me. How do I get out of here? Like, where is the exit? But it turned out to all be fine. But it was, I'm telling you, never a dull moment in Nashville.
Have you ever ran into Kristen Cavallari?
I have not, no. But from what I hear, she's a really sweet person. We have mutual friends, and I have nothing against her. I think she's great. I don't know her. I'm sure she probably doesn't like me that much, but I think she's great.
What living out in Nashville, how different is that from living in LA? I mean, listen, right now is a little different of a situation because of the pandemic and all of that, but like normally, are you enjoying that a lot more?
Yeah, Nashville is the funnest and weirdest place I have ever lived. This is the smallest town. If you go out on any given day, you will run into at least 5 people that you know, and it's never a dull moment here. I have the craziest weekends here, and the people that I see here and the people that I know here, it is the weirdest place. And people think that about LA, maybe because I didn't really go out in LA much, but Nashville's a very interesting place to be.
I know that the Bachelorette guy, Sean Booth, is now doing his stuff in Nashville. Has he hit on you yet?
No. I know that he's in Nashville, but there are so many people in Nashville. I mean, stack them up. I think everybody lives in Nashville at this point.
Who's the celebrity that you run into the most in Nashville?
I'm pretty much any country singer, songwriter. I mean, they're out here all the time, especially since they're not touring. I mean, you'll find them in the back of Losers on pretty much any given night. So a lot of country singers around here, but a lot of people are just moving to Tennessee. It's just a lot of celebrities are moving here because they don't want to be in LA and they don't want to be in New York. So it really is a plethora. It's a smorgasbord anytime you go out. I don't think I've gone out on a single weekend where I haven't seen somebody that's quote unquote famous that I know. It's just a weird place.
What do you think
about
you
guys have a out there? Because I feel like I've seen photos from Tennessee, but it's not like it's obviously not LA or New York where there's a lot. Do you get papped out there?
No, we don't. We have laws against that here, which is why I think a lot of people come here because we do have those laws. So yeah, no, we don't have any of that around here.
Interesting. I had no idea. What would you ever do something like Playboy?
I've been in Playboy before, but it was just an article, so I remind people of that. But who knows? I mean, I'm not going to do anything that's going to offend my base. I'm still in conservative media, so I'm not going to do anything that's too Tommy After Dark type of things because I'm in conservative media. But
would it actually offend the base, or they just wouldn't want to talk about it publicly? I think there's like two different sides. That people would say they're offended, but everyone's going to go look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I really don't know. I think that if you want to be taken seriously in conservative media, I mean, Megyn Kelly did it, I suppose. But, I hold myself to a certain standard. I wouldn't do anything. I'm not going to do anything like Playboy. But, I think that I'm probably a little different than a lot of conservative commentators. I push the envelope anyway with a lot of the things that I do. So, who knows?
What do you mean Playboy? Does that mean pose nude?
Yeah, like I'm not going to do a spread or a cover or do any. I'm not going to show anything. Yeah. Okay. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. Nor do I think that they would ask me to do that. Although I do know Cooper Hefner, and he has become a friend of mine over the years, which is interesting. He's obviously very liberal, but he has become a friend of mine.
Very cool. Do you have a relationship with Megyn Kelly?
We follow each other on Twitter. I've always admired her. I've always thought that, she really took the fight to whatever she was taking the fight to. And I think what happened to her was horrible and despicable and wrong. She's getting, paid for it, which is good for her and her family. But I don't know her personally. I would like to, though, because she is an inspiration and a role model to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've met her a bunch in New York. She's always been super nice and cool and sweet, very pretty, like just nice. Every time I've met her in New York, she's always been awesome, just very pleasant, and she's killing it right now with the podcast. People like her and Katie Kirk are kind of starting their own news kind of network individual, and kind of based on social media. So they're doing really well. Is that something that you would ever do? Is just, is that something you would ever like? What's the future for you? Obviously, Fox Nation right now is crushing, but what more do you want to do?
Well, I think that the future of news in general is going to be really personality driven, and it's going to be, like you said, the Megyn Kellys and other of us that have created a brand that's really outside of our networks or really outside of our day jobs. I think that that's really where things are headed. So who knows what the future holds? Instagram and social media, that's obviously been a big space for me to be myself and say the things I want to say. So I think it's always going to be a hybrid of a lot of different things, but I like to do a lot of different things. So we'll see what's next.
What's the best part about working on Fox Nation? Like, what do you enjoy when, some people hate their jobs, some people love their jobs. Like when you get up in the morning and you flip that camera on from your studio upstairs, are you just really appreciative? Like, I don't know. I'm just curious to see what you think about your job.
Yeah, I love what I do because no 2 days are the same. So I just got off of Outnumbered, and then later on I'm going to be on with Martha McCallum, and then you never know what's going to come your way. But I think that my favorite part about it is when I get to go into the field. So next week I'm headed down to the border for my 6th border trip, I think it is. And those are the kind of things that I love to do. I like to get out. I like to talk to the people. A couple weeks ago, I went back to South Dakota, talked to the people that have been laid off because of the Keystone pipeline being canceled by Biden through executive order. Those are the kind of things that I really love to do. And I get an opportunity to do with my job is really get out there and get my hands dirty and get the real story. And anybody that knows me or follows me knows that immigration is my number one. So I really, really look forward to those kind of things and talking with the people.
How many times have you been to the White House about now, would you say?
I've never been to the White House.
I've
just been outside of the White House. Nope, I have not. No, a couple, probably, I guess maybe 4 years right after Trump was elected, he called me and thanked me for my videos. And he, because he's Trump and this is the way he talks, he says, next time you're in DC, just come to the White House, bring your friends and family. And I'm thinking, yeah, I would love to take you up on that, but it's not like I have your direct line. So I don't know. Do I shoot you a DM when I'm outside, or how does this work? But it never ended up happening.
It is true. It's like people, you're like, I really want to do that offer, but I don't know how to ever get a hold of you. That's so funny.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get ready before you do before you go on air?
I would say
from you studying your notes to you obviously dialing yourself up.
Yeah, well, I would say I spend a lot of time when I'm actually in the chair because we've got a delay time. So that's when I do a lot of my research and I look things up so it's fresh in my mind. But I don't know, probably 2 hours or so. I'm pretty fast. I've got this down to a science now. I've had a home studio in LA for 3 years. I've had this home studio for about a year now. So I'm very used to working from home and I know my rituals. I haven't worn shoes to work in probably 5 years. So perks of having a home studio, I guess.
Do you get dressed from like the waist up? Or you have to do full outfit? I feel like during the pandemic, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, that's not just the pandemic. People are just discovering that they don't have to wear pants because of the pandemic and Zoom calls. There are times that, I mean, you can wear whatever you want on the bottom most times. So you mix it up. It just depends on what I'm feeling. I do a lot of Fox and Friends. And when I was in LA, Fox and Friends is obviously 3 hours earlier. So if it was a 6:30 hit, I'd be doing it at 3:30. And, you know, who knows? Sometimes you can just sleep on your back for a couple hours and throw something on the top and make it work.
Lastly, I'll ask this, Tommy. What is your advice to people that are trying to that are just doing commentary on TV? Not even just political; it could be entertainment, political, anything. What is your main advice to the people doing it?
Yeah, speak from your heart. Don't do anything because you want to become famous or you want to go viral, because people are going to detect the bullshit in an instant. People know when you're genuine and when you're authentic and when you're a grifter. And I can see a grifter from a mile away, somebody that wants to do conservative commentary or wants to do any commentary, wants to be an influencer. You can tell when people are phony. I think we've all got a pretty good BS radar for that because of whatever season we're on of The Bachelor. I think we can all kind of sniff that out pretty well. So my advice to people would be, do what you love to do, speak from the heart, and make sure that you mean what you're saying and you're not just doing it for cheap thrills or to go viral or to make money, because that's how you're going to have a lasting career.
All right. Oh, you know what we need to do real fast? I almost died, and then I realized we haven't done fan question roulette. Do you mind if we do that real fast? This is this is the funnest we've been doing. So we have our fans submit questions, not knowing who our guests be, because we don't tell them ahead of time. We just release podcasts and boom, you're on it, right? So but they want to be a part of it and they want their questions asked and answered. And so they submit videos of themselves. Our producer, Pat, will grab the videos, drop them in to our production. We haven't seen them. We don't know the questions are coming up. All we see is the person's name. So we play the question.
We hope that it's no butthole question, because that's always something that comes up. But it's always something weird and random. Hopefully, it's something doesn't embarrass us. But yeah, we have no idea what it is.
All right.
All right. Dax,
cool for it. All right. So we're gonna do fan question roulette, starting with Will here.
If you had the opportunity to get paid $500 to relive the worst date of your life, would you do it?
Hold on. You have to replay that because you have to tap for sound when you play it. Did you guys have that on your end too? I couldn't hear it at all.
I think it just mutes our mics for a second.
Yeah, but then I have to tap my screen for sound, so you're going to have to replay it because I can't hear what he said.
Okay, hold on. One more second.
If you had the opportunity to get paid $500 to relive the worst date of your life, would you do it?
The worst date of my life?
I think it was the worst date of my life. Yeah.
Date or day?
Yeah, I don't
date.
Date. Oh boy. You want me to describe the date or just tell you if I would do it again for $500?
Oh no, we want to hear if you've got a story on a worst date, we want to hear it.
Okay, I'll give you one. This is a great one. So right when I moved to LA, I didn't really know a lot of people in LA, and imagine me moving to LA from Dallas, what are you supposed to do here? I just got out of a relationship. I was like, I want to meet somebody in LA. So I'm going to do the Bumble thing. We'll see how this goes. It's always touchy when you're a public figure and you're going on Bumble. But I went on Bumble. I met somebody. They lived in Santa Monica. I was like, listen, this person looks somewhat normal. It looks like they want to join the fire department. So I like that kind of line of work. I like our first responders. Let's do this. So I go out on a date with this person. Okay, nice guy, really nice guy. Had no idea who I was, which, by the way, I appreciate and I don't care. But I discovered that he worked in Beverly Hills for the foremost penis enlargement doctor and would do consultations. And as we're sitting there in Santa Monica, he's got to answer patient questions about their upcoming procedure. And I'm thinking, this has got to be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I'm so glad that you're so comfortable with it, but you literally look at private parts for a living and tell people how to make them bigger. Very.
Can Adam get his phone number?
Yeah, I was about to say.
No, and the worst part is that afterwards I blocked him so that because I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Then he figured out who I was. I just got to block this number. So I blocked the number, but then the worst thing happens when you block somebody's number and then you see them and they want to know my texts don't go through. It's like, what is going on here? I think I'm being censored or shadow banned or something.
So basically your date was more worried about everyone else's wieners than focusing on you.
Yeah, no more Bumble. I deleted that app after that. I was like, this is just not going to work. I'd rather die alone than do this.
All right, I like that one. By the way, Adam, I think I did that one for someone else, and then right when it's going, I was like, oh, damn, I think I played that one. So that's truthfully, this is. All right, I got another one for you from Sam.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
So my question is, what is your Mount Rushmore of vegetables? What are your top 4?
the
Mount Rushmore of vegetables. I like that.
My Mount Rushmore of vegetables. Well, this is a great question for me because I'm from South Dakota where Mount Rushmore is. So I'm supposed to just give her my top vegetables. Is that what
your top 4 vegetables? Hey, they're random questions, but they're there.
Let's do it. Okay, I guess we'd go carrot. I think a bell pepper is still considered a vegetable, but it's kind of on the edge there. So I guess carrot, bell pepper, mushroom, Brussels sprout.
Ooh. Okay.
All right.
Mushroom over broccoli? Okay, I see you, girl.
Yeah. You just gotta be honest. Just tell it like it is.
Do you smoke marijuana? Or can you talk about that?
I do not. I wouldn't ever want to do something that made me slower or more lethargic. So no, that's just, I don't care if people do it, but that's just really not for me.
I'm more embarrassed. I said, do you smoke marijuana? Like I'm a substitute teacher or something like that. That was so
it was
weird.
Very professional.
I don't know why that came out like that.
Do you smoke the marijuana?
Yeah. I don't know why that came out like that. Well, Tommy, listen, you're awesome. I think people, you're a really sweet person. We've met a couple times in person. We have mutual friends. I commend what you're doing as far as speaking your truth, whether you agree with it or you don't. I respect people's honesty, and I also appreciate when people don't really apologize when they don't think they did anything wrong. Only when people apologize when they actually did something wrong. But I think you're doing you, and you're happy. And I think that's what matters most. And it's good to see that you're doing well.
Well, thank you. And you guys come down to Nashville, Tennessee anytime. I promise you it will never be a dull moment here, and you'll have a great time. And we're open, and we're thriving, and we're living life. We don't fear coronavirus here. We live. So come on to Nashville.
Thank you, Tommy.
Dax, what did you think?
Listen, she's interesting, and I don't agree politically with a lot of things she says. However, that is not why we have people on the podcast. We have people on the podcast because we want to know about them, or we want to see what their view on life is, and I do give her credit for always speaking her truth, whether people agree with it or not. I think that is a very difficult thing to do this day and age. Listen, being called a racist, that to me would crush me. I've had people joke, and they think it's funny. Like some of my, I'm not going to say who, but I've had friends that'll just say, just it bothers me so much. So for her to live every day and have that come in on your feed, I feel like would absolutely crush me. And, what a weird life she does live,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've seen her out in New York a bunch, and there's no security when she walks out. She kind of does. She stands out too. She's a blonde, pretty girl, just walks out like she stops traffic a little bit, but she doesn't apologize because in her mind she doesn't do anything wrong. And I don't agree exactly with all her politics, but I do respect her stance and non-apologetic attitude. So that's really cool. Um, did I come across creepy in this interview?
Are you talking just the marijuana question?
Well, just in general, it's just like, yeah, did you hook up with Sean Booth yet? Did he hit on you yet?
I mean, these are the questions that we're Hollywood Raw.
Oh, okay.
Like, but we're not CNN or Fox News here. Like, we're asking questions that we find interesting. So no, I don't think it's creepy.
Yeah, okay, good. I just don't want to come across creepy. I mean,
I feel like that's why people tune in, because they want to hear the weird shit you ask.
Yeah, they want to hear creepy. Well, listen, if you want to hear more creepy, check us out on YouTube. You can see us. You can check out the Hollywood Podcast. We're on YouTube, where we have a video component. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Triller, Instagram. Follow us. Leave a review, a comment. That really helps us out. You can find me at Adam Glyn, Glyn. You can find Dax Holt at DaxHolt. And we'll see you guys next time.